So now let's continue our work with finding equations of lines. And in these set of equations, we will be given 2 points on the line, but we will not be given the slope. So what we're going to do first is that we will find the slope by using our slope formula, which you recall from a previous video. And then once we find the slope, we're going to choose one of the 2 points that we originally were given to then find the equation of the line using the point slope form that we worked on in our last video. So let's go right to example number 1. So we are asked to write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form that goes through the 2 points 4, 3, and 8, 1. So our first step will be to calculate the slope using our slope formula. So again, our slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So we're going to go ahead and label our 2 order pairs x1, y1, x2, y2, and go straight to the formula. M equals, so 1 minus 3 over 8 minus 4. And that gives us a negative 2 over 4, which reduces to a negative 1/2. So now we know that the slope of this line is negative 1/2. We're going to put that slope of negative 1/2 into our point slope form. So I've put it in there. Now, see where the point slope form asks for x1, y1? We have used the point 4, 3 as x1, y1 in our slope formula, but that doesn't mean that we have to use that point in the point slope form. If there's any time in which you're doing these problems that you like your second point better, your x2, y2, then you can use those instead. In this case, yes, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to leave x1, y1 the way we have defined them. So then I'll write y minus 3 equals negative 1/2, and then x minus x1, which is okay. So again, I'm using the point that was given in the problem. Okay, now they do want our form, our final form, to be slope-intercept form. So we have some more work to do here. So we'll go ahead and distribute next. And we get y minus 3 equals negative 1/2 x. And then these two negatives multiply to a positive, and 1/2 of 4 is the number 2. So now we will add 3 both sides of the equation, and our equation in slope-intercept form is y equals negative 1/2 x plus 5. And if I was in a test situation and I wanted to check my answer, let me give you a hint. Use that second point, check with the point 8, 1. Remember, that's the point we did not use in the point slope form to find the equation. So I'll do this one check here. So 1 equals negative 1/2 of 8 plus 5. Let's see if that's a true statement. Half of 8 is 4, so we get 1 equals negative 4 plus 5, and that does check. So here's the equation of our line in slope-intercept form. So again, what did we do? We took our 2 order pairs that were given. We used the slope formula to find the slope of the line. Then we picked one of the 2 order pairs, substituted the slope and the order pair into point slope form, and then we solved for y to get it into y-intercept form. Let's try with the next problem. In problem 2, we're once again labeling x1, y1, x2, y2. We're going to find the slope using the slope formula, which is y2 minus y1, difference of the y's over the difference of the x values. So we get negative 6 subtract a negative 3 over 4 subtract a negative 5. I've got some signs I can change here, right? And so it looks like our slope here will be a negative 3 over 9, which reduces to a negative 1/3. So that's our slope. Now, do you like that first point still? Let's use the second point in our point slope. So we're going to go y minus y1, or which actually will be y2. So y minus a negative 6 equals our slope negative 1/3 times x minus 4. Just be careful. Sometimes students will get a little confused and they'll use the y value from one point and the x value from the other point here on point slope form. And you just want to make sure that these numbers that you substituted here came from the same order pair. Okay, that's just a hint for you. Let's continue our work here to get this into slope-intercept form. So we're going to distribute that negative 1/3. It looks like we're going to have some fractions to deal with here, and that happens sometimes. So here I get a positive 4/3. Okay, so I've got a fraction that doesn't reduce there. Leave it as an improper fraction for now, because we're going to subtract the 6 here from both sides, and we have to do this subtraction here. So y equals negative 1/3 x. Okay, let's do this subtraction here. If you're doing it by hand, we have a negative 6/1 added to the 4/3, and we're going to need that common denominator, which will be 3. Okay, so then it's negative 18/3 plus 4/3, and then keep the denominator of 3, and negative 18 plus 4 is a negative 14. So negative 14/3, and you do not have to change that improper fraction to mixed number. You will see that for the most part, most of our math books, they just leave the answer in this improper form right here. So that is the final answer for our problem. And again, how we would check that is we would use the first point and substitute it in, the one that we didn't use in point slope, and see if we get the right answer. I'm going to leave the check to you. Alright, for this next problem, I am going to have you pause the video and try it. Pause the video now, look at your notes, see if you can get the equation of this line, the line that goes through negative 2, 8, and negative 4, negative 6. See if you can get that equation in slope-intercept form using our technique. When you unpause, you should see my answer, and then you can compare. Okay, so I got that the slope was 7. Positive 7. I used the first order pair in my point slope form along with my slope of 7, and when I did all of my simplifying, I ended up with y equals 7x plus 22. I even went ahead and checked it with that second point, and it really worked. So how did you do? Okay, look at these steps and see if they match yours. Your only difference is you may have used the other point here in point slope form, but when you went down to your final answer in slope-intercept form, you should have matched mine. Now, that makes a good point here. The point-slope form is not unique. So that means that you and I could do the same exact problem and get two different answers that are both correct for the point-slope form of this line, depending on which order pair you use as your point in the point-slope form. The slope-intercept form, the y equals mx plus b, that's unique because the graph of this line will go through a unique y-intercept, which is, in this case, is 0, 22, and of course the slope is 7. So that's why you will see that often in your math work they will ask you to change your equations to slope-intercept form, because that's a unique form for the line. Whereas the point-slope form, you can have infinite number of answers that are all correct. Hope that makes sense. Let's try the next one. Okay, here's another one for you to try, and I'm going to ask you once again to give this one a try. Pause the video and check your answer. So this time I got that my slope was 1/4. It is a fraction. I used the first order pair in my point slope form. When I simplified and I combined those constants and I changed the denominator to 4, I ended up with y equals 1/4 x minus 13/4. Went ahead and checked it with that second order pair, and it did check. How did you do? So your goal will be to memorize that point slope form, really get comfortable with doing the algebra work to get it into slope-intercept form once you've filled in the correct point and slope, right? Okay, just practice.